not music, actually in a story. So I think the best way to start this is probably with the ones we all recognize. So I'll say it and then you tell me where it's from. With great power comes great responsibility.
Spider-Man!
Okay, now do we all know why that's so well known? I think it's so well known because it speaks to everybody in the room. Okay, you do something wrong, there's going to be a response. If you have this much power, and if you don't do something right, maybe your uncle dies. Maybe that criminal walks right past you because you're so self-absorbed in your own world. You know, you want to be a wrestler, world famous wrestler. There's a consequence for that. So the theme is speaking to us directly. The theme is really what the story is about. Not that I put on a mask. Not that I dress up like a spider. Yeah, a spider bit me. But I put on a mask and I do something responsible with that power. I do something that makes it a better world. Okay? So that's why it speaks to us. But we all know that there are other characters like, you know, Batman. What do you think Batman is about?
It's kind of like a superhero with gadgets.
Okay, let's try somebody else. Does anyone else know what Batman's about? Yeah.
Well, what I always figured is that he's an actual man. He doesn't really have superpowers.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. So I think that's why a lot of people not relate to Batman, but I guess you could say I've met a lot of people who love Batman, like say if they compare to Superman, just because he is an actual human and he's just brilliant and has these gadgets that I don't know.
Exactly what I just said. Yeah. Sorry.
All the way in the back.
Batman compared to the other superheroes, he's a self-made superhero. He has no superpowers. This is okay. You're born from Krypton. I trained my mind and body to be.
Let's talk about Batman's motivation for a minute, because we know what happened. Here he is. He's going to the movies with his parents. They go and see Zorro in the theater. Coming home, and his parents get mugged in front of him. His parents get killed in front of him. So if you think about what happens to a child when their parents are killed in front of him, his world has crumbled. His world is not the same anymore. And the story of Batman is that he spends the rest of his life going into adulthood, doing everything possible to be able to make himself, to build himself up as a man so that he can fix his world. He doesn't want this to happen to anyone else. So his motivation is to make a perfect world.
Death.
Because you're talking about Batman and his backstory and his motivation, I've always, even though I love Batman, I almost feel like frustrated at his motivation because I feel like he's so unbelievably hard on himself that, you know what I mean? Like as compared to, let's say, Spider-Man, right? Yes, he could have potentially stopped that killer. He's like at least old enough where he has some level of responsibility for his own behavior. Because Batman's a child, I feel like he has that brooding quality that stays with him his whole life, and I just want someone to look him in the eyes and be like, it's not your fault.
Yeah, you speak. I mean,
Well, Batman hasn't been Bruce Wayne since the age of 8. Basically, he dies at 8 years old with his parents, psychologically speaking. And from that moment on, he was Batman. And what's really telling about Batman...
he didn't have a name for himself yet, but
Yeah.
he was that individual,
Exactly.
yeah.
What's really telling, or who's watched like Batman the Animated Series and Justice League and the DC, right? Two really good points, even though it's not in the comics, and I can make points in the comics as well, is one, when they did the Justice Lords episode in Justice League, right? Because do you remember that? It was the Justice Lords, not the Justice League, and Batman, they find out what's wrong, right? So Batman is confronting Batman in the Batcave, and like the evil Batman finally says to him, this is what we needed to do to make sure that no 8-year-old has their parents killed in front of them ever again.
He takes it to the extreme.
He takes it to the extreme. And the other one was that, who's seen Batman Beyond? Okay. In Batman Beyond, there's a scene where someone's trying to convince old Bruce Wayne that he's going insane and he's hearing voices. And he keeps hearing, Bruce, you have to jump out the building, you have to jump out the window, you have to jump out the window. And the way he knew he wasn't hearing his own mental voice is because he doesn't call himself Bruce in his own mind. He calls himself Batman.
He's not Bruce.
He's not Bruce Wayne anymore.
So you feel like he's had this kind of psychotic break, and so you can't hold him to the same standards that you hold a non-traumatized adult in terms of like his awareness.
Batman essentially, even though it's not a correct term, is a sociopath. A good meaning
It's pretty close.
sociopath.
It's pretty good.
He's
He's a sociopath with a limit.
Yeah, he's a sociopath woman. He won't kill.
Like it
But-
shows off his Batman and his cover-up as Bruce Wayne. Guess you could say. Not really.
Here's the thing: is if you look at Batman, when he talks to any of his villains, he always refers to them by their name. He doesn't call it Scarecrow. He calls him Jonathan Crane by his identity, because what he's doing is he's knows that these people are broken, these villains, and he's referring to them by name because he still believes they can be saved.
What about the Joker?
He still, now that might be an exception.
Yeah.
Okay? He still believes they can be saved, which is why they become institutionalized. They're not killed. They're put away in a hospital in the hopes that they can repair themselves, like he did to himself. He repaired himself. He went back out into the world, made himself as close to the perfect man as he could, so that he could confront what he couldn't at 8. So the difference between Batman and Spider-Man is Spider-Man is old enough and has the power and has the ability to stop it, but doesn't. He makes a choice, and for the rest of his time, he knows that he has to use that power responsibly. Batman's different. Batman, it's a child who cannot stop it. And he makes himself that perfect individual to do that.
Batman's his entire mission is to make sure that which happened to him does not happen to anyone else. So it's not a selfish thing of like trying to his own revenge. It's to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. Yes.
Well, in the 20s, he actually calls himself Batman. Then he wears the Batman suit. Does something like that.
Talking about the 1920s?
No, I'm
Or
talking
in his
about if he
20s?
was 20 years old. Yeah.
This is before he starts wearing the cowl?
I meant maybe 50. I don't know when he actually wore the Batman suit, but he was
Well,
older.
see, here's the thing. We know that when he was 8, when his parents died,
Yeah.
that
but,
he becomes something other than who he was.
Yes.
When he assumes the cowl, when he starts to fight crime, after he's made himself this almost perfect human, that's when he uses the name Batman. That's when he assumes that
Well,
identity.
I mean, he figured out that name in the Batman, but he actually wears the Batman suit when he was 20 years old, right?
Oh, you're talking about
You're
No,
talking
he-
about revisionist history where they
Yeah.
go and retcon ideas back into what wasn't really there?
You know.
Can we get back to coming up with a theme?
Yeah, sure. So now that we talked about Superman, we talked about Batman, let's try Iron Man. Anybody want to try Iron Man?
Oh yeah, a Marvel character, right?
Yeah. Well, anybody want to try what the theme is on Iron Man?
give a guess.
Oh, it's a normal person with a chemical suit. Yeah, I know.
And that's the
That's
comic
not a
book.
theme.
What's the theme?
Okay, if you know what the theme is, I'd like to hear it.
I
Otherwise,
just
I don't want
want
to hear it.
I just want to give you full details what Iron Man is.
Atonement, he was a munitions manufacturer, and he wants to make up for the deaths he saw.
Say that again?
Atonement, he was a munitions manufacturer, and wants to atone for the deaths he heard they caused?
That's very interesting because that is part of it. That definitely is part of it. If you make weapons for a living, your father who created the business makes weapons for a living. There is a consequence involved in that. The life that you have, this life of the Playboy, all of this money, all of your toys, stem from weapons manufacturing. Yes, you do want to redeem your family name by, instead of doing that, instead of making more weapons, you make the biggest toy imaginable. fix what your father created. So yes, that is the theme of Iron Man. And you don't see it right away. You see him as, well, he's drunk, and,
Womanizer.
Womanizer, and he's got the fast cars, and he's got all the toys and everything but he's completely alone. His life sucks. He's completely isolated from the world. He's trying to fix what his father created. So yeah, that's it. Right on the head.
You were
I was about to say the same
the same thing.
Same thing.
Great minds thinking alike.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna do Superman now, because we want to move into it. Okay? Anyone know what the theme of Superman is? Because there's more than one. There's a couple that are really cool, and there's a couple you don't get right away. So, the theme of Superman? You want to talk about how he comes? Okay, Superman comes to this planet. His parents stick him into a rocket. They send him off into space to say, Kal-El, we think you'll do better over there. This world's going to end. Goodbye, my son. They send him off. Sound familiar? Anybody see that?
It's an immigrant story.
Right.
It is an immigrant story.
Not only is it an immigrant story, it's an illegal immigrant story. It doesn't come here with papers and all that, and ID and all that. He gets found in a field in Kansas by middle America, okay? Midwestern values. That's not New York values, that's Midwest values. He grows up on a farm, okay? He grows up by the strength of his arms and what he can do with his hands. That is his upbringing. He goes to the city because he wants to know more of his world, to know more than just the microcosm he's living in. Okay, so the first theme, he's an illegal immigrant. I bet you nobody he really thinks about that when they read Superman, but he's an illegal immigrant. 2, why does he call himself Superman?
Wasn't it?
Oh, let's see.
He has superpowers.
No.
Damn.
Next.
Who else?
The guy in the back who's smiling. I want to hear from you. Why does he call you something?
He can survive in harsh conditions.
Give him a chance.
Why does he call himself Superman?
Yeah.
He's trying to boost.
No, well, others gave him the name Superman,
No.
right?
No.
Because we're an ass.
No. Okay.
Well,
Let
yes.
me
There's another thing.
let me ask you this. What makes you super?
Being strong.
Look at how strong I am. Does that make you super? Or is it you won't give up? That someone knocks you down, you get back up.
I know.
That when the worst thing in the world that could possibly happen to you, you get up. That when your neighbor is knocked down, you go and help him. He comes from a set of ideals. What makes someone super is that he comes from superior ideals. The ideals that we all think and we all cherish. We all wish we could be that good. Okay? Somebody comes and starts beating the crap out of our neighbor, hitting him over the head with a bat, and there's like 3 of them. Do you rush over there and save him? Do you go and kick them out? Superman would.
With or without powers.
Superman would. So he's super because he comes from superior ideals. He is what we should be. That's what makes him super. Now what happens when he loses his superpowers? Does he stop fighting? Honestly, does anybody think Superman stops fighting when he loses his powers?
No? Keeps going, right?
That's what makes him super. That's the theme.
He's an inspirational character in so many ways. He's inspirational to other characters in the DC universe. When the Justice League fights and Superman shows up, it's actually written in one Justice League maybe 5-6 years ago. They say everyone fights just a little bit harder when Superman is there. Bane.
So pretty much his perseverance is the main ideal.
Right.
Also.
If you look deep into any character, their power is not their power. It's a quality of character. Going back to Superman, it's his ideals. Batman, it's his self-control. It's like a muscle that he's maximized. His ability to control himself and his reactions. The deeper you go, like you go into any Green Lantern, specifically the best Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, his ability to control his own fear, right? It's never what they physically can do, and it's always what's psychologically.
See, Green Lantern is a great reference point because you think about it, right? You know, we all wear rings, right? Those of us that are married wear rings. Hopefully it stays in your finger, right? Now, just think about this. So, you're out on a Sunday, you see something in the sky, what the hell is that? Comes flying down, boom, right into the ground. You go to see what's going on. It's an alien. An alien. He tells you, you have to take over for me. If you're the right one, the ring will stay on your finger. So the ring goes flying off, goes flying off, looking for the person with the strongest willpower, someone who can overcome their fear. Not that they will, but they can. Flies on your finger. Oh. Maybe it's me. How would you react? You got the strongest weapon in the universe stuck on your finger. Pretty strong responsibility there. But it gets worse. You go out, all of a sudden it tells you, you gotta go out to this planet out there. I haven't been outside the country. I'm gonna go to another planet. I go to another planet, I get there, they tell me, you know, you got one of the most powerful weapons in the universe, but there's 3,600 of them. You gotta train with us because we're the police force of the universe. We go around and make sure things, bad things, get fixed. That we prevent the crime in the universe. It's kind of crazy.
They prevent meaning stop it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a good question. Because they got rules. They do got rules. It's not, oh, you know, let's blow up the planet and make it go away. There's people living there. You gotta learn the rules, just like a police officer's gotta learn the rules. So Green Lantern's as close as you can get to a policeman who can overcome his fear to help fix, to make sure that justice is done. That's a pretty heavy-duty theme, right? But that's in the book. If you look for it, it's there. You know, it's all about his willpower, the whole thing. But again, this is something that you may not see, or you may not understand, or you may not recognize just reading the comics because, you know, Green Lantern's always fighting, you know, Hector Hammond or some other character, Sinestro, whomever it happens to be. It's there, but you have to dig for it. But it's what makes us come back to it. It's a police story. We all watch Law and Order, but it's the same type of thing. It's a police story. It's a procedural police story, in fact. Okay? So you're drawn back to these characters because they speak to you, because everyone wants the police to be on their side. They want honest cops. They don't want bad cops. They want the policeman to help them if there's a problem. They don't want the policeman to beat us down and grind us into the dirt. That's Sinestro. Hal Jordan, John Stewart, Guy Gardner, these are all cops.
What you're saying about how people want authority figures that they can trust, and they want the idea of that people who are powerful have that responsibility. What do you think about how the themes that motivate these particular heroes are a reflection of like the time in which they're made, or how they've been played with throughout time, like meaning the decades, and like what's going on politically in the United States? How do you think that shapes that?
What shapes that is there's different heroes for different eras. Okay, you've got this character, Wolverine. Okay, he's not afraid to kill. Okay, neither was Dirty Harry. They're both 70s creations.
Yeah.
They both were born in the 70s.
They're
Things are so bad. Things are so bad.
Yeah.
We gotta take him out. We can't let them live. He's just gonna keep on doing it again.
By the way, Dirty Harry is not dirty because he's a dirty cop. He's dirty because the dirty work comes to him. He's the one who's willing to go.
It all gets
the
shoveled
length.
his way.
He's the one who's got to go the extra mile to fix things in San Francisco. That's why at the end of the film he throws away his badge because he can't take it anymore. In just the first movie.
Right back to what you said. Is it any wonder why this TV show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is now this big thing? Well, we're living in an age of spying, Secret Service, espionage. Who do we trust? You hope maybe the spies know what's going on. Maybe they can do the dirty work so we don't have to send 100,000 troops over there, pound it back down. Maybe 4 guys in a flying car can take care of it for us. It speaks to the age. That creation, which was, created 1968 or whatever the exact year was, it works better now because, when you send an email, it's all recorded, it's all in a data bank. Your cell phone calls, all recorded, they're all in a data bank. Okay? Every type of communication we have right now is recorded and is in the data bank and can be accessed at any point in the future if they have a court order.
You could also look and see how the culture responds to certain superheroes over time and how they change that superhero. Like if you take Captain America, who was originally the idea of American values for Marvel, like he didn't even kill Nazis, right? He's that good. He won't even kill a Nazi. Now, at this point, what do we use Captain Marvel for? To stand up against our own government and say, no, what the government is doing is wrong, right? If you look at the last movie, which was based off of the Winter Soldier series, it was pretty close to the book of him looking and standing up against the American government, the people that gave him his power, and saying, no, this has gone too far. This is not what the ideals are and not what we should be doing.
And if you look at Captain America very directly, Captain America's a thin little street kid from Brooklyn.
Sickly.
Okay? Who, again, the reference point for Captain America is how hard are you willing to fight for what you believe? Or are you going to give up? Do you keep on going? Because that's the ideal that we were hoping for from our GIs that went overseas in World War II. Because that time period, a good chunk of the world had already fallen underneath the boot heel of the other side. So when do you stand up and fight? How hard are you going to fight? Do you think there's another chance? I mean, are we going to stay over here and they're not going to come over here? They're sending subs over here. They just found us a Nazi sub off the end of Long Island. It's been there for 60 years. Okay, sub, we didn't even know it was there. Yeah, they were here. So this character, Captain America, sickly little kid from Brooklyn, who gets the opportunity to fight for his country, but he becomes this super strong guy. He was chosen because he won't give up. And that is it's in the movie. They picked up on that.
Yeah.
And really, I think that's part of the reason why some of these Marvel films have done so well, is that the core theme that was in the comics, that made the character, is in the movie.
It's right there.
And if you can just transfer from this spot to here, you still have the audience. It's when you don't transfer that, okay, you try and change it, it's maybe not as good. And the audience picks up on that. They can't quite pinpoint why it's not quite as good. And they move away from it. Okay? The Green Lantern movie is a perfect example for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets the ring, failing, willpower. Space cops. They're space cops.
It's the Green Lantern Corps, right? Like the
And-
Marine Corps, but cops.
They're cops. It's a
Yeah.
corps, they're cops. They're space cops. They're supposed to stop. They're supposed to right the injustice. They're supposed to stop the crime from happening, if you will, all through the space sector, throughout the universe. You move that out and you have them fight a galactic space cloud. Okay? It's not the same thing. The audience sees it, the audience doesn't quite know what's wrong, and they don't endorse it. They don't go back and see it. They don't tell their friends to see it, because it's not the same thing. So these themes, you know, people wonder, oh, what is this? I'll give you another great example. They had a great opportunity here. This movie, John Carter. John Carter of Mars. They left out of Mars. Okay, so they're throwing out some elements here. What is John Carter about? I dare anyone in the room to get it right. You might because you read it. Anybody in the room. What is John Carter about? What is the theme? What motivates him? Anybody tell me?
He wants to get back to Earth, right?
Anybody? He's a Civil War veteran. His side lost. He's a Civil War veteran, and it's a veteran story. Why couldn't they get that? We're all worried about veterans now. This guy fought in a war. He fought in a war in that he didn't know what was right and what was wrong. He fought in a war to the point where he hated it. He ends up on another planet, and he's still got to fight. But now he's got an opportunity to actually fight a war that he believes in. He's not fighting his brothers or his cousins that are on the other side of the border. He believes in this. He believes that he can actually bring peace to the world, to that world. He's a veteran. And nobody gets it. That movie could have been huge because, well, how many veterans have we got now? We got veterans from World War II, we got veterans from Vietnam, we got veterans from Korea, we got veterans from the first Iraq War, we got veterans from the second Iraq War. And we're all worried about how can we take care of them, right? Look, they fought for us. Can we do the right thing by them? That movie should have been a blockbuster for this age. But because they didn't get it, because they didn't see the theme, it's dead. It's not because the graphics were bad. Awesome. It's not because the acting was bad. Okay?
There are
They
levels.
didn't get it.
There are levels of storytelling. The theme is one of them. And then you get, theme will take you even deeper. And then there are levels that you can't even talk about because it's the unknown, and that's where the theme comes in. So as an opposite point of how John Carter didn't work, who's seen Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, Martin Freeman? Right, the new one that's taken place up to date, current Britain, right?
Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes.
It's called Sherlock, but it's
But
about
it's
Sherlock
called,
Holmes.
it's called Sherlock. So it's Sherlock Holmes. Now, the writers of that, they loved, there was an older version of Sherlock that was done with Basil Rathbone, and it was done in the 40s, and it was done in modern time. And what they felt is the core essence of Sherlock is the connection between Watson and Sherlock and the deduction and having this brilliant brain, right? And these are what they kept in it. They got rid of the gas lights, they got rid of, like, Victorian England.
They stripped away
They
the
stripped
window
everything
dressing.
and they kept it right down to the theme and the buddy friendship. And it translates very, very
Can
well.
two guys use their intellect to solve the problems? Can
Yeah.
we find the clues?
Exactly.
It's a buddy
It's a
story.
buddy story.
Buddy story. That's it, come on.
Buddy story. It's
story.
buddy story. Buddy story. Buddy story.
Something like that.
It's buddy story. All the trappings.
The new term is bromance.
Oh, it is a bromance.
It's a romance.
And they make fun of the bromance by constantly alluding that they're a gay couple. They're, you know, so, but it's a buddy story, and it comes down to the buddy story.
Right.
So
It's
it's
a buddy story, And they're using this.
Yeah. And that's why it works, because they stuck to the theme of it, as opposed to
Wait,
John Carter.
now we got to throw it out to them. Think about it. What book do you love, but you can't figure out why you love it? What is it? Tell us. Ask us. Maybe we can tell you.
Doctor Strange?
A doctor who fixes himself. He doesn't just fix himself. All the things he ignored, all the deep, dark corners of the world and the universe, everything that he just assumed in trying to fix himself, he needs that world to become complete. Because he's isolated as a doctor. Okay, he's isolated, he's got the perfect life, driving around the car, gets into the accident, can't use his hands anymore, can't move.
Right.
What the hell do I do with myself?
He's vain, narcissistic.
Oh, well, keep on going, come on.
He's vain, he's
Don't stop there.
narcissistic, he's money
He's like
grubbing.
House. Oh,
Yeah,
keep
he's
on going.
House. Yeah.
Yeah, he's House.
Which, by the way, they should cast you for that part. It'd be awesome.
Wow, yeah, I think it'd be awesome for them.
Right? Let's start a petition for that. But he's vain, he's narcissistic, he's everything that you hate in a doctor. The doctor that rushes through you, doesn't take any time, doesn't talk to you.
Lousy bedside manner.
Terrible.
Okay? Lousy.
Right? And then he goes, he breaks his hands, he can't work
And,
anymore.
you know, as a side to that, he's got to go to another universe to find the girl that'll like him. Right?
It's really bad.
I mean, it's really kind of over the edge.
I know I just need to leave Long Island, man. I don't want to have to go to another universe. So,
Anybody else? I mean,
Well, this is kind of from a movie. I'm not sure if the Penguin was before the Batman movie. Was he even a character
Yeah,
that
he
was
was,
made?
yeah.
Okay, so him.
what's his motivation, or what's his?
Like, yeah, what's his motivation? I mean, I know that he was born, he was so ugly, his parents just,
Well, that's from the movie.
yeah.
yeah, that's in the movie, but so, I guess explain.
The Penguin is bureaucracy run amok.
Okay, cool.
He's bureaucracy run amok. He's everything that we hate about bureaucracy. What's bureaucracy? The DMV is bureaucracy. The government is bureaucracy. Even like, when you need to go to HR and get something from someone, and you have to find out 15 forms of triplicate, right? That's what he is. He's got his hand in every pie. He always takes his cut. Everything has to go through him. He's bureaucracy gone astray and terrible, and it doesn't help anyone anymore. And it's probably like a love to hate him kind of thing, right? For you, that's what
true.
it is.
Oh no, that's the opposite. I love him.
No, it's,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
you know.
Yeah.
Anybody else? We got another one?
Daredevil.
Why do you love Daredevil?
No, yeah. He wants the thing.
What's the thing?
Want to hit the thing?
I love to love it.
Well, it's kind of right there with a man without fear. He overcomes everything. He's taken.
The key to it is he's blind.
Yeah.
Okay? He wasn't always blind. He's got to lose his sight to see the world. Okay? He loses his sight. Not only does he lose his sight, but it enables him, without one of his five senses, it makes him stronger. Okay? The loss of his sight enables him to see the world completely. Because you always, Daredevil's in this fight. There's 40 of the hand ninjas coming at him. Who the hell could do that? He places them all with his radar sense, and now he can fight them. But he couldn't do it with all of his senses. He had to lose one before he could see the world in its entirety.
You know what the interesting thing about Daredevil is too? It actually works when you lose your sight.
Yeah,
That your
yeah.
senses do get stronger. I, for a long period of time, practiced martial arts, and we would do what's called ground work or ground wrestling. And sometimes I'd lose.
I wanted to see if you saw me.
I saw it. I'd lose, and my teacher would say, close your eyes. So I closed my eyes, and I could feel every movement my opponent was making. I was actually better with my eyes closed. So that's another just cool thing about Daredevil, that it's a real thing. You lose your sight, you see more, you appreciate more. you feel more.
Yeah.
We're
For-
very, very sight-oriented people.
And for his motivation, it's a little different. His father was always the one. I guess he looked up to his father. His father was the boxer. His father head of the household. His father took care of everything. His father is removed from the picture. When I say removed from the picture, he's a boxer. It's rigged. The boxing match is rigged. He loses his dad. He can't afford to be afraid of anything anymore. He's got no one else. So he's the man without fear. So that's his motivation.
Can I throw another one?
Sure.
The Shadow.
Ralph Cranston? Not Ralph Cranston. Lance Cranston.
Lamont.
Lamont Cranston.
I always get it wrong.
No, Lamont Cranston is supposed to be just a guy that whose identity he borrows on occasion.
Well, it's been like there's actually like so many different.
No, we can take a step.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean there's like so many different backstories, but basically it's the same concept
All right.
of.
You do it.
Well, who is he before he's the
No,
shadow?
what is his
Well,
theme?
yeah, what?
His theme?
What is his
His theme
theme? What
is
is his
atonement.
motivation? I'm sorry?
His theme is atonement. It's kind of like a little like Tony Stark. What is he before he's the shadow?
No,
He's-
that is.
Okay.
If you could make yourself invisible and no one could see you coming, you could do the impossible. He is, they always say, well, the shadow knows, what evil lurks in the hearts of men, the shadow knows. He's not an up-and-up guy. He didn't start out as an up-and-up guy. He knows what they're thinking because, well, he's been there. He didn't choose to go down that road. He chose a different road. But you'll never see him coming. Okay? He hides in the shadows. Any shadow, behind you, over here, over there, over there. He can be everywhere and nowhere because he has all of these agents that work with him. He's got an entire network of people. The woman in the nightclub checking the jackets. The cabbie out in the street. The dancer behind the curtain at the show. They're all his agents. So because he's got this incredible network, he can be everywhere and nowhere you would expect it. Only the shadow knows. And it's all right there. You got to look at it, you got to frame it, you got to see why. When you hear these catchphrases, okay, Marvel Comics used to have that first paragraph when you look on each page. Those are your themes, people, okay? And you look at the Hulk, right? The Hulk. What is the Hulk's theme? This infinite, unbounded rage in a little child. That's not the thinking adult. That is the Hulk. That's the child. That's the primal 3-year-old that throws the toys at the wall because mommy said no. He fights the U.S. Army because the U.S. Army is authority. He doesn't want to be dictated to. The Hulk doesn't recognize any authority. He gets along with Doctor Strange. Okay? He gets along with a couple other people. But generally, he's just this really bad, spoiled child.
Who does he get along with? He gets along with people that don't talk down to him and tell him what to do.
He also gets along with people that aren't forcing him to do things. Doctor Strange will say,
Yeah.
he'll do like the Jedi mind trick. You have not seen it. You are not here. Okay? And, there's a reason why the Hulk is Doctor Strange. But if you look at these characters, there's a real appeal. Okay? You get home. You get home, somebody pissed you off at work. Okay? There's nothing better than a Hulk comic for that. Okay? You can get rid of that anger pretty quick. Hulk will smash. Okay? Hulk goes to the DMV. Hulk will smash. Okay? Yeah. It's all about that.
In the Avengers, come on, who didn't think the best part was when Captain America just looks at and goes, and Hulk, smash.
Smash.
Because who just wants to smash?
Miss Mary.
I got one. And this is relative to the comic and when it was on television and the movies now. X-Men.
X-Men.
And the main theme from that, I could talk about this from the other side, is that you have this group of people, and from the human side that are completely different, and the human accepting the mutant has been very hard. And a lot of times, a lot of that does not come from the individuals themselves. It comes from higher authority, the government, if you will. So the government, at some point, with the help of some others, is.
I got to interject here on you. The X-Men work on multiple levels. Okay? You can go biblical, you can go racial, you can go sexual orientation, you can just keep on going. They're the outcasts.
Yeah.
Okay? Now I'll just go to the base. The meek will inherit the earth. That's who they are. X-Men are an analogy for social outcasts, sexual orientation outcasts, racial outcasts, combinations of those, because there's strength in numbers, and we all know that just because someone says this is the way the world is, you must adhere to this, doesn't mean that you can't be something different. You can. You can be outside of what the accepted norm is and be normal. You can be, okay, you can be from a different culture. You can be I look kind of white. Am I white?
No.
See what I'm saying? They work on multiple levels, and each one of the characters has got their own story and motivations, but as a group, there's strength in numbers, and as a group, it shows that they're a family, it shows that there's brotherhood, it shows that humanity is so much more than just this one little speck over here. This is, and everyone else is circling around. There's so many more people circling around that may not be accepted. And that's the X-Men. Okay. They're not the Avengers. They're certainly not the Justice League. Okay? They're a different group.
They're one of the most human in terms of problems and relations of dealing with each other.
Well, they were written that way. I think
Yeah.
the writing in particular for 200 some odd issues, they humanized
Like
all
no
these
one-
problems.
yeah. Like no one really cared, like you don't write Superman to see if he's going to have a nervous breakdown. But Cyclops, he can have.
I'd like to write Superman.
That would be
Nervous
great,
Breakdown.
right?
It might be a really cool story.
That'd be a great story, but he's Superman, so they don't really do it. But Cyclops, you can really get into like the burden of leadership on Cyclops. So they're a reflection of the outcasts.
Talking about himself here.
It ain't easy being the boss.
So when he turns back time to save Lois Lane from the comics, and would that be kind of like a breakdown? He's having, he freaks out and realizes I can do this.
So, you know, it's funny you point that out. Superman's one biggest weakness he will ever have is Lois. Not because Lois is a weak person, not because she needs to be saved, but he would do anything to save her. Okay. And they show it in the first Superman movie in the 70s. He cycles the earth and spins and spins. He turns back to, whoa, this is somebody I don't want to know anymore. Okay. He goes back in time and fixes time to get her.
He breaks the first.
How many
rule.
times has he done this? When did he first do this? Is he going to do it again? Do I want to be here when he does it again? Whoa. That's pretty scary. Somebody can change time?
Yeah.
How does he decide what's right and what's wrong?
Well, you saying that he breaks that rule and coming back to the idea that he has these superior values, maybe that's the message, is that like having superior values means always doing what's right and sometimes bending rules to do whatever it takes to make something.
Wait, no.
You know what I mean?
No. That's a very modern day interpretation of that. Bending the rules occasionally when it's necessary. Whoa. When is it necessary?
Right, who decides
Who
that?
decides that? Do I decide that?
The
You know, I
situation-
didn't get the scholarship. Oh, you know, I didn't get the job. Okay. Oh, I lost my house with that mortgage. Oh. When do you decide? See, that's really scary. That's why I say Superman, he has to be from superior ideas, because this guy's pretty damn scary. He can do anything. And you see when he's written on alternate worlds, alternate Earths, that sometimes the equation is not what we have. Sometimes this guy is really, really bad.
They did an alternate story where he lands in Russia,
Right.
right?
The Red
He's
Sun.
not Superman.
I don't know, the same lines as this, but Batman, we were saying earlier, he was an ordinary man who's decided he wants to make the world a better place. He's built up a mystique around himself with the costume and training and through the gadgets to inspire fear so people think he's more than he actually is. Superman's the opposite. He can do just about anything. He goes out of his way to inspire trust. He could fix so many problems, which he doesn't do, because he wants the world to trust him and to know that he
No,
won't take things into his own
The
hands.
really interesting thing is when you look at
Control on both sides.
some of these writers, they've written, like Mark Waid wrote Kingdom Come, and it shows that years in the future, Gotham is this nice city. He fixed it. And Metropolis has really turned into a wreck. And it's funny because you look at it, if you're trying to redeem people and you're hoping that there's a possibility to reach their humanity and make a better place, that's a more positive message than, well, you know, let me beat the crap out of you, you know, I gotta save, you know, these guys, but you're really no good, I'm just gonna stick you in prison. Prisons are not good places. They don't get redeemed. And if you're sending someone to an asylum, maybe we can get to the root core of what your issues are, and maybe there's a chance to save you. But the prisons, I don't know if you know anybody who's been in prison, they're not good places. I think the intent is for them to be good places, not good places right now. And I know that that's really maybe not what you want to hear, or maybe it's not, you know, maybe that's not an acceptable statement, but I've met people and know people who've been in prison, and they tell me it's almost like a training camp to make you worse. That's not good. Okay, so another character, any character.
Well, I did Batman and Superman, might as well do Wonder Woman.
Now, she comes from an island of all women. It's a paradise, and men aren't. Okay? Wonder Woman is an empowerment theme. That women can be everything they possibly want to be. All by themselves, and not dependent on a man, because they are strong enough to be anything they want. It's Wonder Woman. Am I right? Am I right? Anybody else? Am I right?
Yeah.
I'll go a little bit out of the box here. TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Pizza.
This is your ear. I'm gonna let you take that one.
Team of Ninja Turtles is pizza and cowabunga. Yeah, like I would say
Diving off the
Yeah.
back, the top of the bunk bed, shouting "Cowabunga" will get you pizza.
Yeah, that's it. No, I would say the theme. Well, they use the same word for the X-Men as they do for they're mutants, right? They're the outcasts. Where do they live? They live in the sewer, and they hide.
Oh no.
People.
This is it. Rats and sewers do make good heroes.
And turtles.
And turtles.
And turtles.
Would it also be that, you know, I don't think there are too many things that were made of teens that were
Right.
different and their basically school was being able to learn martial arts and how to be able to use it for the right reasons instead of the wrong ones. And that another thing is that it takes more. I mean, even though it's a human side, that anybody that can care about one another and come together for a common cause can be family.
There you go.
See, that's really good because we were making light of it, but you did hit it there.
Because they call
If
it
you honor
brothers.
If you honor each other and work with each other, you become family. So that's probably it.
And if you look at the opposite,
That's very
Shredder, who does Shredder work with? Robots,
Yeah.
right? They work with each other.
And they don't honor him, and he doesn't honor them.
Right.
It's that who can outduel the other or outsmart one another to earn more power.
Well, the family's going to beat the robots for sure. Family beats robots. We got one more.
I was just wondering if he was going with the red mask turtles or. No, well, with the original question, 'cause it was kind of a different.
I was talking about I was actually talking about the combination of the two. The one that lasted for 10 seasons from like 89 to 99,
Okay.
and the second one that went from 03 to 09. The one that was Funimation created.
Because like the red mask ones were like,
Yeah,
that was like a bit different than
Yeah.
the later turtle.
I think you meant the more popular.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, I've read those graphic novels too, and those are extreme bloody, but even there, there's still a brotherhood.
It's family, like
That's not like Does anyone have one more character?
What about Shazam?
Shazam?
No, we're gonna work on that one. Shazam.
Well, I mean, it's the power of the ancients right there.
I think it's more than that. I think because he is a child, we see him, he's an adult,
Yeah.
but he really, really, really is a child. That
Well, he's got that eternal.
the wisdom of the
Hopefulness.
ages
Yeah.
better be guiding the strength of Atlas. Okay? Shazam, the villains that he faces or the 7 deadly sins, it really is an allegory. These things, these sins, the only way to avoid them is to have all of this wisdom behind you, because the wisdom is what counteracts these 7 deadly sins. And we're all faced with these choices. Even though this man looks like he's this super being, he's grown up and all that, he's still a boy, he's still a child. We're all still children at heart. So when we look at Shazam, we see this perfect godlike figure, but we're all kids. We still face these, and we still think of these 7 deadly sins as kids. It's only when we look back at our history, our wisdom, where we come from, that maybe we can avoid them.
If you look at it deeper too, he still has that very simple concept of right and wrong that a kid has
Oh, yeah.
initially.
I think he's without
You know.
cynicism.
Right.
If you
He hasn't
watch
grown up
that Justice League episode where he was giving Luthor the benefit of the doubt, whereas Superman wasn't, and I think that kind of defined him for
He's
me.
not jaded by the world yet.
Yeah.
Okay, he's still a kid.
He's still a
Still a
kid.
kid. That's actually really good. That was good. Anybody else?
I would say too, like when you look at themes, some of the best themes are the classical themes. So if you go further back, like a lot, like Batman, Daredevil, there's an ancient theme of the loss of the father and having to go find your father, right? It's in Indiana Jones too, the third one. Why does Indiana Jones go seek the Grail? He doesn't. He doesn't go to seek the Grail. He goes to find his dad. In fact, he says it right there.
What about the thing?
The thing. It's Clobber's on it, right?
Okay.
I think the thing does what he does because he's still the same person. He looks different. He's still that kid from Yancey Street.
Yeah.
Okay. Now they teased him relentlessly. But he can't be the thing if he goes around, if he tries to get back at them. It's not right. They tease him because they know that he's not going to hurt them in return, but he's stronger than them. He's stronger than everybody on Yancey Street. So, you know, he's made out of rocks, but before he's made out of rocks, he's stronger than all those kids because the bullies don't matter. He'll clobber him if he has to, but he's stronger than all of them. Right? Does that make sense? Okay. I like that. I'm talking to you. He's good.
So, yeah, as I was saying, like, if you look to the ancient or older ones, you'll find those also in your comics. You know, going back to Batman.
And it's all heroic figures. I mean, you look at, if you look at Hercules, you know, he's got the 12 labors he's got to do.
Right.
There's a reason why he does each labor. You know, I mean, if
And
you
they
look
get
at each one, each one teaches a theme. Each one shows you that even if you're a demigod, you still have these problems. You still have to. You won't be able to get. You won't be able to get through your life without dealing with these 12 labors. So they're all allegories. The whole point of story in the first place is I want to convey what I believe and my wisdom to you. The way that I can do that is I tell you a story. You pick up from what I want to say to you because I put it in the form of a story. I entertain you a little bit, but I'm telling you the theme. So we may not see the theme because we're not paying attention to it, we're not looking for it, or because I'm a really good storyteller. And that's part of what all of this is. The reason that you keep on reading these comics is because the thing beat up, you know. Thunderball, yeah, he beats him up. But underneath it all, we're being engaged, we're being entertained, and we're being taught. And we like coming back to these characters because what's being said to us, we like the theme. And you'll find that what you find most engaging is the theme that speaks most to you.
I would wrap up that idea very simply. Who's only watched Star Wars once? Just once.
Sadly, because I hadn't seen it until recently. But I'd like to watch it again.
Okay.
Wait, tell him. He's right next to you.
Yeah.
Once he gets to somewhere you can do it.
He was the one who showed it to me. I
There you
had
go.
never seen it, sadly.
Everyone will want, you want to watch it again, or people want to go back to it again and again because it's a morality tale with so many rich themes to it. Right? Same thing, you go to the comic books because the themes are there and they're old themes, and they're the ones that speak to the psyche over and over and over again. It's not just because there's cool effects or this comic.
And it is a coming of age story.
Yeah. And it just speaks to you here. Yeah. And it's a classic one.
And, you know, you get to the second, third one, whatever it is, your dad's not who he thinks he is. Your dad's not who you think he is. Maybe he's not all bad. You're laughing, right? It's there.
And there's a little bit of your dad in you.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of midichlorians in your
Yeah, it is. They just made that up recently, right?
No, that was
in
I choose to forget
in
it.
the old
yeah.
fiction.
Oh, yeah.
The originals, no.
No.
That was one of the Phantom Menace.
So everyone knows Vince? Vince is doing
No,
the
they
next
don't.
panel, right?
Now they do. Hello.
Vince is awesome. You should stay for his panel.
Thank you.
Okay, and my pleasure. I'm out here over at Atlas Unleashed.
If you go like right over the second staircase, you can check out the Pronto Comics booth. I know some of you have. Also, tomorrow in panel room number 2 at 12, we'll be doing our own panel about breaking into comic books, and we'll be discussing like getting into the business and all those other kinds of things. So if you're interested in comics, writing comics, and you probably were interested in writing comics because you came to this panel, I urge you to come tomorrow at 12 o'clock, and we can go over and tell you about what we're doing as a company and how you can get involved. We already have a couple of members of the audience.
Awesome.
And thank you all.
Thank you, everyone,
You know,
for coming.
read some more comics.
Nice, nice. Thanks for the introduction. I'm following you guys tomorrow, too. Oh, cool. Yeah.